Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for joining us today. I'd like to quickly welcome those of you who are watching on our live stream on Blackhawks.com and on Chicago Sports Network. Just really quickly, we'll start with some opening remarks from General Manager Kyle Davidson and new head coach Jeff Blashill, followed by questions from the media. We've got Chris and Kaylee here to help with microphones, so if you have a question, please raise your hand. One of them will get to you, and please state your name and affiliate. And from there, we can go ahead and get started. I'll turn things over to General Manager Kyle Davidson.
Thank you, Ben. Thanks, everyone, for being here today. It's a really exciting day for the Chicago Blackhawks organization. Before we get going, I'd like to recognize a few people that are joining us today. First, our management and Jamie Faulkner, Danny Wirtz, appreciate all the support throughout this process. Some of our leaders from the player group here, Nick Foligno and Connor Murphy, appreciate you guys being in attendance today. And then Jeff's family, his wife Erica, sons Teddy, Owen, and daughter Josie. And then also Rob Facca, Louis Facca. Rob is one of our top amateur scouts and was actually on Jeff's coaching staff back at Western Michigan. And Louis, who I know is very special to Jeff and the Blashill family, way back to those Western Michigan days, and is inspiration to us as the Blackhawks. So happy for everyone to be here and join us in this day today. So going back several months, we crafted what we were looking for in the next head coach of the Chicago Blackhawks. We wanted someone that would grow with this team, someone that would instill, teach, and hold our players accountable to the fundamental habits required to winning in the NHL, someone that would embrace the challenge of working with and developing a young group of players, and also someone who shared the same vision as we did for the players and prospects that we've accumulated and built to this point. In Jeff, we found a candidate that checked all of those boxes. With his considerable head coaching experience, both the pro and amateur ranks, with championships along the way, his experience working with elite coaches, with elite players, and also the opportunity to have learned through his first 10 years as an NHL head coach. I felt Jeff was uniquely positioned and qualified to grab the reins of a group brimming in potential and to start molding that into an outfit that, in time, would be ready to grow and mature into winners in the NHL. So I'd like to, first of all, again, thank Danny Wirtz for his support and guidance during this process, and many members across the hockey operations and business operations group who helped us get to this point where we're very excited and proud to welcome Jeff and his family to our Blackhawks family and name Jeff Blashill the next head coach of the Chicago Blackhawks.
Thanks, Kyle. Appreciate everybody coming out here this morning. I just want to start by thanking Danny Wirtz, Jamie Faulkner, Kyle Davidson, and his management group for this great opportunity. I just want to spend a second to thank the Tampa Bay Lightning, Jeff Vinnick, Julian Brisebois, John Cooper, for one, allowing me to pursue this opportunity, and two, just for 3 great years spent down there. Learned a ton, and the camaraderie was unreal, and I'm definitely going to miss you guys. Most important thank you goes to my family, my wife Erica, Teddy, my children Teddy, Josie, and Owen. And if anybody that knows the wife or the child of a coach, you live the roller coaster that is a coaching life, and the ups and downs and the emotions that go with that, moving from one spot to another, finding new friends. You guys have been unbelievable through that process. You've always stuck together, and you've always encouraged me to keep going and never once asked me to take a step back in the coaching world. And so for that, I'm forever grateful, and I love you guys. As I said, for me, this was a great opportunity, and every single coaching job in the NHL is a great job. But for me, this job at this moment with this team was the exact job that I wanted, and for a multitude of reasons. Number one, I believe in working with great people. And I know the research I did going into this job and carrying out and getting to know the management group, getting to know Danny, these are the type of people I want to go to work with every day. I think we have a shared vision of how we're going to get to the top, And I look forward to walking that vision on a daily basis with this group. Number two is the great player pool that Kyle spoke about earlier. The scouts here have done an excellent job. I think we have a number of great young players in the system, and also young players that are going to be with us to start the season in Chicago and knocking on the door in Rockford. And I think we have an opportunity to have depth at every position, and honestly, potential superstars at every position, and that's very unique in this league. And my job now is to help mold them, teach them, coach them, lead them to becoming great winners in this league. And it's a job I look forward to. I'll need help with that. And I believe we have the right veterans in place here that can be Papa Bears to these young players, help them grow. Nick Foligno, Connor Murphy are in the crowd here today, and super appreciative of you being here. And that leadership and knowing that we have the right veterans in place made this an even more attractive job. And then finally, just my own experiences. I had the opportunity at different levels to come to similar type situations with the Indiana Ice in the USHL, Western Michigan in college, Grand Rapids in the American League, where we went in, we were able to implement a culture of accountability, create a championship standard, develop those young players and win. And then I've gone through in 7 years of a hard rebuild in Detroit. And I know the pain that this group's gone through over the last couple of years, and I also know the pitfalls that are potentially ahead, and so we'll work like crazy to avoid those pitfalls as we go to lead this team into a better tomorrow. And then finally, the 3 years I spent in Tampa. I had a chance to see a team that had just won 2 Stanley Cups and been to a third final, and what a championship team looks like, how they play, how they practice, what their approaches are. And all those experiences for me means on day one of training camp, I can stand in front of our group and know exactly what it's going to take for us to get to the top. And not guess, not hope, but know. And so I'm extremely excited about that and that opportunity. I don't want that to sound like it's going to be easy, because it's not. It's going to be hard. It's going to take more sacrifice and more work than most people are willing to give. But for those that are willing to give it, I think the reward's going to be great. In time, this great city of Chicago and our great Blackhawks fans, we can deliver a championship level team, and I look forward to getting to that moment. Thank you.
All right, at this time, we will open it up to questions from the media. As a reminder to please state your name and affiliate, and we can go ahead and get started.
Tracy Myers, NHL.com. Jeff, congratulations and welcome. You mentioned some of the reasons of coming here. Wanted to pinpoint exactly, especially on the young group that these guys have, and what have you seen from them, be it Worlds, be it at the end of last season, in terms of the potential that this young core has? Yeah,
as I spoke about, I had the opportunity to go back and look at a number of the games, especially at the end of the year, where some of the young guys had just arrived and played some of those seasons. And I've known some of these guys for a while. A number of the draft picks played at the National Team Development Program. When I lived in Detroit, I literally lived 5 minutes from the rink. I had the opportunity to see that team play a lot, so I know a number of those players because of that. Watching at the end of the year, obviously the job, and congrats, by the way, to the U.S. team for a great win at the Worlds. I'm glad I got to add that in. We've been waiting for that for a long time, so Jimmy Johansson, we're thinking about you. But so that's to watch the job that Alex and Frank did at that tournament, those two in specific. I got to watch more of the U.S. games because of that. I just think it's a group of young guys who are really talented at each position, and that's a very unique thing. And again, does that mean there's not work ahead? No, we got a lot of work ahead to make sure that we're teaching the right fundamentals and habits that it takes on a daily basis to become the two-way players that are needed to win championships that you see in the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs right now.
Charlie Romeliotis with WGN Radio. Welcome to Chicago, Jeff. How much do you feel like the 3 years in Tampa Bay, learning under John Cooper, who I know you're close friends with, how much do you feel like that helped prepare you for this next gig?
A ton. It's really been great. I think The 3 years couldn't have worked out better in terms for me, for my own experience. You know, if this opportunity had come along after year one, I'm not sure, but after year three, I've just had a long time now to be down there to really see the inner workings. And certainly Coop is considered one of the best coaches in the NHL. He's been a good friend of mine for a long time, but I had nenever coached with him, so it was awesome to kind of get with him and watch him do his work. But also Jeff Halpern, Rob Zettler, all the group down there, and just really smart coaches. Got to learn a ton from them, and then you get a chance to work with elite and great players. And every elite player I've worked with is unique, and they all have kind of their own different ways. And so you get to learn from, you know, coaching a Nikita Kucherov, coaching a Steven Stamkos, a Victor Hedman, and Andrei Vasilevsky. You know, all the guys down there that in their own ways, Braden Point. I mean, I could just keep going on, and they're all different. They all take a little bit different approaches to try to connect with them. But the key is learning ways to connect with them so that you're working towards the same goal, and that's helping them become the very best version of themselves, no matter what age they are, no matter if they're young or if they're a veteran in the league, and then also helping them work together to bring the team towards the best goal and the greatest heights we can work to. So it's really been a great experience.
Phil Thompson, Chicago Tribune, and congratulations.
Thank you.
I have one for you, Jeff, and one for you, Kyle, as well. Jeff, can you go into specifics about the pitfalls that you learned from specifically, from Detroit? And then Kyle, how much were you looking for that line between a coach with experience and one who has a track record of developing young players?
Well, I would start by saying, you know, when you're going through in the stages we were at in Detroit, honestly, is a bit different than the stage that we're at here, to be honest with you. But as you're going through those processes, you know, one of the big things as a coach, you want to help your team and you want to find answers. And so at times you're searching for answers. How can we best put our guys in the best position to have success? And there's certainly times as you go through that you can over search for answers, that you can maybe change a system when maybe that's not what needs to be done. And sometimes you just have to stay calm, believe in the process, and stay the course. And I think going through those times allows me to remain calm and stay focused on the process in the face of the adversity that you face as you're trying to go from being a team that's near the bottom to being a team that's at the top.
Yeah, I think from our perspective, we wanted to talk to a number of different people in our process of, you know, but we didn't want to put a box around it with you know, no NHL experience, a lot of NHL experience. You know, I think it was something we were very open-minded to. But in the end, when we got in the room with Jeff and got to know him a little bit better, and he was able to speak through his lived experience in the NHL as a head coach, you know, as well as, you know, many of the different other factors that were discussed, you know, in the interview process. It just became it felt like a no-brainer, you know, to tap into his experience and to tap into what he's lived and been through in the NHL as a head coach. And so it just made a lot of sense from that perspective, but it wasn't necessarily something that was a deal breaker one way or another, but it you know, getting in the room and learning about him and learning how he was going to approach this job. I think that time in Detroit as an NHL head coach certainly set him up for you know, approaching this a different way and you know, learning from that first tenure.
Jeff, Matt Zahn, CBS Chicago here. Building off Phil's question about the pitfalls of the rebuild in Detroit, how do you balance developing young players against, you know, wanting to win games right away, especially for veterans on the roster as well?
Mm-hmm. It's a good question. I've actually been asked that question a lot through my coaching career, even at times in USA Hockey stuff and stuff like that. You know, the balance between development and winning, and I've always felt like they go absolutely hand in hand. Once you kind of have your team, the best way to increase the ceiling of your team is for those individual players to get better. And that's not just the young players. You know, that's asking Nick Foligno to make sure he continues to improve his game in finding different ways to be as successful as possible. That's, and certainly it goes to the young players as well. Ultimately, you know, when you have a group of young, talented players, again, if your ceiling's here and you can find a way to keep developing those guys, your ceiling goes up and up and up.
Hello?
I think we lost it. Oh, So, is that, oh, no, I think we're still out. I can talk loud too, so that's no problem. Keep going. You guys can hear good, fine, okay. Oh, this one's good? Oh, thank you very much. Okay. We're live? We'll see. Hopefully that answers your question, but that's a good way to kind of get out of it, by the way. So no, but ultimately, I do think the balance is that they go hand in hand, and the best way to make your team better is to develop your guys.
Ben Pope, Chicago Sun-Times. Where do things stand in terms of figuring out your staff and just fleshing out everything that'll be around you here?
Yeah, so we're very close to finalizing it, but we have completed two of the assistants. Anders Sorensen will stay as one of our assistants. I've known Anders for a long, long time. I have tons of belief in him as a coach, as a person. I think he's a great fit to help guide our young players. He's got relationships with a number of guys, which I think is important, so it keeps some continuity on the staff. And again, just the belief I have in him, I think he's very, very smart, very, very calm, and I've learned a lot from him over the years in different coaching settings. So he'll stay on staff. We've hired Michael Pekka, who has been with the Rangers for the last couple of years, worked in the American Hockey League for a couple of years as an assistant to actually a very good friend of mine, Seth Appert, who was the head coach in Rochester. So I've got to know Michael through that process. He's, to me, again, he had an unbelievable playing career. He won 2 Selkies as a forward in this league, which means you're an elite winning hockey player. And I think both from his coaching experience and his playing experience, he can really help mold all our players, but particularly our forwards, and help them find their best games as we try to guide them to being the best winners they can be. And then we're really close on our last assistant. I can't talk about it yet, but I think we're getting to a spot where looking for some again, somebody with experience coaching at different levels, and so really excited about the staff. Overall, I think it's going to be Jimmy Waite will stay as well. I know the goaltenders have had a good connection with him here, so he'll stay as well. So we're excited about the group.
Hi, Jeff. Jay Cohen, Associated Press. Welcome to Chicago. Obviously, one of the big names around here is Connor Bedard. You mentioned a little bit about what your experience was working with superstars in the past. What have you seen watching him from afar, and what do you think you can do? What is it about your background that thinks you could get him even to another level than what he's already played so far?
First up, I think Connor's going to get to another level. I don't think there's any question, because like other superstars in this league, he has the drive, the want to be the very, very best he can be. And there's zero doubt of the ability that he has. When you watch him with the puck on his stick, both his ability to shoot pucks, his ability to create plays and make passes is really, really elite. There's zero doubt about that. I've, again, had the opportunity to coach different unique offensive players, and everybody has their kind of strengths. I would say Nikita Kucherov does it much different than Braden Point does it, different than Henrik Zetterberg or Pavel Datsyuk did it. It just, they're all kind of have their unique strengths. And so working towards Connor's strengths, I think, will be important. And then just part of the process of any young player that I've ever coached, and I've had a lot of opportunity to coach guys, not just on the teams I've had in the NHL or the American League or college, but also at the U.S., with the U.S. Men's Worlds teams that I've coached, and helping them become the great winning type players that you have to be in order to compete like the 4 teams that are left right now. And so that means you're all those winning habits, making sure you're stopping on pucks, making sure your changes are great, making sure your short shifts, all those things I think lead to the development side of a winner. And then there's also the development side of continuing to find ways to separate yourself. In Connor's case, how can he separate himself with the puck to create a little bit more space? Because when he has space in the offensive zone, he's excellent as we stand here today. So all those little ways, whether it's with your brain, whether it's with getting a little bit quicker, those types of things I think are in place to help him create that type of separation, and then also guide him into becoming that winning type hockey player that we'll need him to be.
Good morning, Coach. Patrick Fazio with NBC5. You talked about getting the team back to a championship level. How many years do you expect that to take? Because Chicago's a tough town, not just the Blackhawks, but our teams here don't give the coaches more than a couple of years. And even those that win championships only make it maybe a decade or so, if that. So how do you feel about that, playing in this, coaching in this type of city, being a tough city to coach in, and how soon could you get to that championship level?
Is that my welcome to Chicago
Yes,
moment?
welcome to Chicago.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'll never put a timeline on that. I can't. I have no way of knowing how long or how quick. I didn't know when I went to Indy if it would take us multiple years. Honestly, when I went to Indy, I didn't know if I was going to make it till Christmas, to be honest. That was my first head coaching job. My kids, two of my kids were 1 and 3, and I wasn't sure what to expect. I didn't know but we ended up winning a championship, and we won it faster than people thought we would. I didn't know when I went to Western how long it would take to get that program back to a level of relevance. In that year, we ended up going to the NCAA tournament for the first time, and however, I didn't know when I went to Grand Rapids how long, and we ended up winning a championship and had success after that. You just don't know for sure. I know what it's going to take, and I know process is the most important piece of that. So what I will say to you is I won't rush the process for a timeline. I believe in the process. I was able actually to see a pretty unique in a different sport when I was in Detroit and watched Dan Campbell, his first year, have very, very, very little success, but I watched him continue and stay strong and build a culture. And when you see those types of experience, it's a good reminder to you as a coach, you have to make sure that you get that culture in place. And once you get that culture in place, the winning takes care of itself. So I don't have an answer how long, and to be honest with you, that's not really what my worry is. My worry is making sure we do it right from day one, and we continue to do it right on a day-by-day basis.
Dave Melton, Second City Hockey. How will you strike a balance between employing the styles and philosophies that you believe will lead to winning hockey while also tweaking that to match the players that you have on the roster now and that are coming along through the system?
So you're going to have to ask that again. I didn't hear. I couldn't hear.
Sorry. How you strike the balance between employing the systems and the philosophies you believe lead to winning hockey while also adapting that to fit the players that you have now and that are coming through the system?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think you have to work to your team's strengths for sure. And that's part of the process as we've gone through this interview process, is speaking with Carl and his management team and finding out, kind of what the direction has been, the types of players that they've drafted here. If there's one thing that stands out to me is speed and skating. And I think this team has a group of not only the team that we'll start with in the fall, but also some of the young players coming. They all can skate. It can be a weapon for sure. And so how do we utilize that as a weapon? There's certain beliefs I have in hockey that aren't going to change no matter what, but I think they actually play into the strengths that this team has. When we don't have the puck, we want to pressure and give the other team no space. Well, if you can skate, you can do that. When we do have the puck, we want to play as fast as we can and be relentless in our attack. Well, if you can skate, you can do that. And then you get into a little bit more particulars. We have a lot of young D that are big but can also skate. So how can we develop a breakout program? And this is what I'll be working on with our coaches. How can we develop the right breakout plan to make sure that we're utilizing our talents as best as possible? But the core of what we will do, I think, will take advantage of that skating and the speed that they've made a kind of almost not a mandate, but that they made a priority in drafting. And so I think it's a good match.
Phil Thompson again, Chicago Tribune. Jeff, what would you say is your coaching style, and at the risk of being premature, do you know what you'd like to do schematically, either offense or defense? And what did you pick up on either front from Mike Babcock and John Cooper?
Yeah, good question. I want to score a lot and give up a little. Let's start there. Without getting into like real detail in terms of schematics, I would say it's more kind of the overall philosophy I just talked about, where we want to make sure that when we don't have the puck, we're a pressure team, and we want to take away other teams' time and space. And you can do that a number of ways. You can do that through your gapping and your squeezing and using your defensemen to take the puck out of the opponent's hands as quick as possible. In our end, trying to spend as little time in our end as possible. On the forecheck, making sure that we're aggressive on the forecheck, and again, just making it feel like the other team has to earn every inch of ice when you don't have the puck. When you have the puck, making sure that we're predictable to each other, and by being predictable to each other, we can play faster. And then as you play faster, now your talent kind of comes through. I've had the opportunity to be an assistant in this league under Mike Babcock and John Cooper, and at their respective times, both were thought of as two of the best coaches in the league, and they certainly were great people to learn from, unique, different styles. Some of what I'll take from them is schematics and X's and O's, but some of it's just on different ways to lead and different ways to do things. And Coop has a unique way about him that I've really enjoyed the last 3 years, kind of being able to observe and see the connection that he's been able to have with his players. And it was a reminder to me that that's when I'm at my best, is that same kind of connection with players. So certainly take a lot from all those guys, but also a number of the coaches that I've worked with. They've all had an impact on me as a coach.
How did the performances that you saw from young players, especially those that were just getting to the NHL late in the season, like a Sam Renzel, a Levchinov, how did that influence the coaching search and maybe some of the traits that you were looking for?
I don't know if it necessarily influenced, just because we knew what we had. We knew it was coming. It just wasn't something that was influenced by a couple games at the end of the year. We had started that process before those players arrived on the scene here in the NHL. And so I wouldn't say it influenced things. What I would say that reaffirmed our belief in Jeff being the right person were some of those firsthand references and people that have either played for Jeff or worked with Jeff that confirmed he would be a good fit. Not only, the young players are certainly crucial to where we're going, but the veterans as well, and his ability to connect and his ability to communicate and build those relationships throughout the team in the locker room, I think was something that reaffirmed that, he did fit what we wanted and would fit across a large spectrum of the type of player that would come through our room.
All right, are there any more questions? All right, and that concludes this press conference. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
We'll take a couple quick photos here.